I'm going to call the meeting. Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the regular meeting of the Bethany Board of Finance, November 14th, 2023. We're starting at 7:10, and this meeting is hybrid and it's being recorded. I'd like everybody first to stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, let's see. So for the record, we have here, we have three guests. One is Aiden Hamid, who is doing a high school project, Bruce Loomis, who is here to talk to us about recycling and bulky waste, and Martha Azarisi, who is going to be joining the board next month. Okay, and in addition, Lauren.
Sure. Do you mind if I put a microphone here to try to help me with my hearing? It goes to my hearing aids.
Go right ahead.
Good. I have a great difficulty hearing. That might
Yes.
help me.
You could always sit up here too.
Would you like to join us at the table?
Pardon?
There's,
like to
you
sit
can
at
sit
the
up
table?
here.
Is
If,
that all right?
if it will, yeah, of course, if
Okay,
it'll help,
Where would you like me to sit?
Right here.
Oh, okay.
Please.
feel free. Okay, so Lauren C. Cable, thank you, is recording for us and,
Okay, you know, Don, get that one. No one's gonna close it right now.
oh, but that one, isn't it holding something?
No,
It's
okay, it's fine.
As we get, we're recording this as we do our fire drill. Okay,
Thank you.
we have our first selectman, Paula Co-Francesca. We have our finance director, Leslie Butcher-Lupe. We have our two selectmen, except I think that Mr. Shea is here as the facilities director primarily tonight, right? Either one.
Either one.
All right. Members of the committee who are here, we have, as I told you, Erickson, who is a member. Don't mind me. It's been a long week, 2 weeks.
I'm on
John.
too, Sharon.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, you didn't hear me when I said hello?
Oh, no, sorry. Hello.
John Grabowski, and I'm Sharon Huxley. I'm the chair. And the first thing that I would like to do is I am requesting that someone we move items 5A, 1 and 2, and item 7B to be next on the agenda, because these are critical items that need to be addressed tonight. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So
Okay.
Second.
All right, so the motion was Katie and Jen Grabowski. All right, so if you move to, oops, what page? No, wrong order. Oh, 5A. It's after, if you find the recycling thing, you'll see something that says, looks like this, it says HUD grant. It's way near the back, which is why we put it up at the beginning. And what we are looking for, okay, first of all, a little bit of background on this one. This is the DeLauro grant that we've been waiting and waiting and waiting. Yes,
did we vote to move it?
not yet. That's why we're doing
having
this,
description now? Okay.
because I was about to explain that. What happened is
I
that,
thought that actually, she's correct. We did not vote to move them. You
No,
have
we
the first
didn't.
and the second, but you did not vote on. the
oh, I'm
motion.
sorry. Oh, I thought she meant the item. Those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Couple weeks.
Sure.
Okay, all right, so what happened with this one, of course, is that for 2 years we've been going. They keep saying we're getting the grant, they're saying we're getting the grant, they're saying we're getting the grant, but they're not finalizing that we've got the grant. And then was it 2 weeks ago, they said, you've got the grant, and a week ago, they said you can buy the HVAC stuff.
Yes.
And then on Tuesday, we figure out Tuesday night. Yes, because we were meeting on this Wednesday morning in the hallway trying to figure out what to do. That although now DeLauro's office had approved preliminary stuff. First of all, it is now a reimbursement grant instead of, they're going to give us the million up front. And second, the second part of it was, we had never sent
Thank
it to town meeting because we were still waiting and waiting and waiting. So that's why you got an out of the blue invitation to a town meeting next Tuesday. And why we really need to review this and approve it. There are two parts to this. One is the part about accepting the grant, which is finally showing up. And where Don has provided us with the, that other one, A2 is different. A1, so what we're looking for is, I lost my track of thought because I saw the lodge. The part about accepting the grant and after the fact, but forwarding it to the selectmen to send it to the town meeting. The reason that time is of the essence is because Don had arranged for rebate in these units, and those rebates require what?
It has to be
Installation.
installed by December 31st.
So in order to get all of that done in time, we had to get town meeting approval, and we could have waited until after Thanksgiving, but then that wouldn't have given them enough time to do the installation. Okay, do we have a draft?
Just one quick thing on that. So
What is the scope of this? I'm sorry, of this grant,
what was the what?
the scope, like,
The Delaro one?
yeah.
It's right here. The scope is right here.
The whole,
What we plan on doing with the building.
this is the $1 million one.
Okay. I was expecting to see. What will we get at the end? Just an updated. Like, I'm really trying to understand. I see that you're like updating stuff, but like, I thought we were gonna get like a new gym, like with
Oh.
sound
Well,
system. and, like-
that's a different project.
That one's.
Okay.
That was already been
That one's
approved.
Okay,
That one actually went out to bid today with the addition for the gym and the HVAC system for the gym, and then some of the fit outs for the gym. The floor, the paint, things like that. That went out to bid today.
and the AV equipment and things like that.
That hasn't gone out yet because that's last. We have to wait for the addition to be done, and we have to wait for,
So that's part of a different grant.
that's part of a different.
Okay, so then.
That's
what's this one
that's
for?
the Jorge Cabrera grant.
Okay,
We got $350,000 to do that.
okay,
This is $1 million to do basically the rest of the building,
The heat.
the heat, and just a quick aside on the HVAC systems. So we're gonna be putting very high,
Glad it's not just me.
we're gonna be putting heat pumps throughout the building
Okay.
to eliminate the need for a lot of these steam radiators. Get rid of a lot of the oil dependencies, so very high efficient heat pumps throughout the buildings.
and that's what you have the,
That's the $98,000 that's up front, the top one.
no, I understand, but that's what you have the rebates on, I assume.
Yes, so anyway, the equipment cost was $43,000 for just the equipment, the install and the retrofits and everything else was the additional money. But $43,000 for the equipment, we're getting a $41,000 rebate from Eversource. So the equipment's basically free. So we could have waited, but we're throwing $40,000 out the window if we wait. I've been holding the contractor off. We did go out to bid on this April, May, I believe. It's been a while because we were supposed to get Rose's money 9 months ago. So this has to go to the top of the list, the HVAC, because if we don't, we're losing 40 grand. And right now we have 6 weeks to install it. The equipment is actually purchased by the contractor sitting down at Center Station. We'll give him a check as soon as the town meeting approves this. We did, I believe at the May town meeting, we approved $67,000 or $87,000 with the LOSIP funds to purchase the equipment. But then this grant came up, so then we decided why waste the low support, we had all this other money from Rosa. So.
So the first part of what we want to do tonight is to approve the scope of the project and accepting the grant. And remembering that it is this, now it's going to being a reimbursement. It is not a matching grant. It's going to be reimbursement, which is part B.
What would be?
Oh, it
the
would
funding
be,
source? Where is this coming
it's.
But
it's
that's
on
part
the
B.
town-
That's
it's on
part
the-
B. That's part B of our discussion, the
Yeah,
funding
but
source.
I know, but I can
Yeah.
tell what it is. It's about setting aside some, asking the town meeting to allow us to set aside a certain amount of money to be used as working capital, because what'll happen is that we have to pay for things and then we'll get reimbursed. And then we have to pay for things and we get reimbursed. And so things are going to be overlapping. In the end, we'll be reimbursed for all of it. But we have to pay for it first. So when we were trying to figure out what to put on the call of the town meeting, we asked Don to estimate what would give him enough cash on hand to do, you know, enough to get each part, like to start a part of the project. And while we're waiting for the money to come back for another one. And that's what the next item is, but the dollar amount estimated was 200,000.
Mhm.
Around 200,000. Because this first part is 98,000. And then we would have to wait for all of that to come back. First, we would have to spend and wait for it, and everything would take twice as long. Essentially, without having a fund that could overlap.
Mhm.
That's the second topic. The first one is for someone to propose a motion to accept the grant and approve the scope of work and send it to the Board of Selectmen.
I'll move.
Thank you. Second,
Second.
thank you. Discussion.
Is it just this page here that describes the scope?
Mhm.
The HUD page, yes,
Yes.
page 5A,
Mhm.
5A1, yes.
I don't believe there's anything on here that we haven't discussed a half a dozen times.
As far as doing, yeah. no,
Yes,
it's
that
all-
they were
It's all pretty
to
much
be
in there.
included.
And as far as HUD goes, I mean, these are ours and the architect's best guesses for cost. They said they're flexible. I mean, if something runs over or something runs under or something else comes up that we want to do, we can change it. We're not locking ourselves in. You know, when it says like new carpet, 100,000, well, if the carpet only costs 70,000, then the other 30 can get put back into something else.
Did you bid this out as a full project or for one contractor to do all the whole scope? or-
We haven't bid anything out yet because we don't have the money.
I thought you bid the HVAC.
The HVAC was bid out under LOSIP at the time.
Okay, but it was,
It was bid out, no, it was bid out, we had the bid opening, it was a sealed bids and everything, yes. But as far as the rest of it, this is myself and the architects and the engineers' best guesses. We had to go through the whole building. as for, the architects and the engineers for what has to be done and what we think we get our biggest bang for the buck. Once we get approval, then we'll start going out to bid a little at a time, because the 200,000 is, like I said, is reimbursable. We can spend it, then once we get it back, then we can go to the next phase. So it's gonna draw out the project a little bit, like maybe a year, give or take. Instead of getting everything done at one shot, but that's not feasible anyway, because it's still a working building, so we can't just tear the whole building apart at one time. So we're gonna have to do like an office, move somebody else, another office, move somebody else, so it'll draw it out a little bit, and then obviously a lot of it's spring work. The repointing the outside, new sidewalks, things like that, that's in the spring anyway, so.
John, anything? Concerns? That's wonderful. Katie?
Are the architects getting paid yet, or are they just running time and waiting until this gets approved?
Right now, they're not getting paid for this particular project. They are working on, they did do phase one, which was the annex and the windows. They did phase two, which is the gymnasium. And now phase three, these architects are part of what, SCROG or COG or one of those. SCROG, which is one of the, they basically volunteer their services until their project is approved, and they get paid. I have very preliminary drawings, basically 2 pages that we sent to HUD. It just basically shows an outline of the building and, this sidewalk and this sidewalk and this sidewalk. And, nothing, like I said, nothing set in stone. HUD just wanted something to get the ball rolling.
Are they going to approve each phase as it goes?
No. It's a one-shot deal.
It was only the first part?
Yes, HUD is already approved. Basically, the main thing holding us up with HUD is the site disturbance. Like, if we're gonna be digging up a hole and knocking some grasshoppers out of the woods or something like that. But we already gave something from the state saying this is not a historical building, there's no wetlands involved. So we're basically ready to go. They already approved spending the money on the HVAC. It's just the rest of it, they have to approve after we sent them this just 2 days ago, 3 days ago, whenever we sent this. They keep kicking us from one person. It's one person to the next. There's buildings full of people dealing with this stuff.
And so at the end of this, what do you have to show that you achieved what you wanted to? Do you know what I mean? Like, what do you like? They're giving us $1 million, and what?
Hopefully, we redo pretty much the entirety of the town hall.
Okay.
It's a lot of stuff has been deferred for a long time. A lot of maintenance. The outside, the brick is in bad shape. The sidewalks are in bad shape. The heating system's antiquated. The carpets. Basically, the building is not falling apart, but a lot of deferred maintenance hasn't been done in a long time. So this will give us a jump and hopefully redo the entire, if not the entirety of the building, at least everything that has to be done to let the building last quite a bit longer.
Have you any idea what, I know you went through this last summer, what the savings will end up being on fuel? Because I know you had a payback for.
Yeah, I'm not sure the exact numbers. I know these heat pump systems that we're putting in will actually heat the building down to 10 below zero.
Heat it down to 10?
Well, it'll heat
when
the
the
building when
outside
outside is down to 10 below zero. with these heat pumps. Yeah, we're not gonna heat the building at 10 below zero.
Is there a backup source when you have it?
We're still gonna keep the steam. So the boilers will still be in place, the radiators will still be in place. They put what they call a fossil fuel kit, which is adjustable. There's a formula that they can use where they plug in a kilowatt hour versus a gallon of oil per se.
I know, I understand.
Well, you know, and it'll tell you at, 18 degrees out, switch
Switch
to,
over,
switch to oil. Then when it gets back above 18 or whatever, just making up numbers, it switches back to heat pump. So, I mean, with oil fluctuating, who knows where oil's going? Not that electricity's getting any cheaper either, but. It's nice to have a second source of heat, plus air conditioning, because as you guys know, this building is extremely hot year round. I mean, they've been opening windows the last couple of weeks, because as soon as it gets above 40 degrees outside, the oil just overwhelms everybody, the steam.
I'm just thinking now you have to do you have to maintain two systems if you think about it?
Well, the HVAC, there's really not a lot of maintenance involved,
I'm sorry, I was talking about if we're gonna keep the boiler system.
but we have to keep the oil, we need a
Yeah, so
backup
we will
source of
have to
heat.
maintain two.
Yes, yeah, we definitely need a backup source of heat, you don't wanna go into it, because things break. Boilers break, sometimes the HVAC systems break, so you definitely want a little bit of redundancy involved. But we're not removing anything, we're leaving the radiators, we're leaving the boilers, we're leaving the oil tanks, everything's just gonna be shut down until it's necessary. It will also allow, right now, the entire building is very hot. It'll allow each individual office to control their own heat or air conditioning. So instead of having a window open here because you're hot and you're cold, you can raise it and lower your temperatures individually, so. And heat pumps is definitely state of the art. I mean, it's nice stuff.
So actually, there are gonna be three phases to things, because you're gonna have something in the approval, like getting the bids, part of the process, and something in the doing the work process, construction, and then a different one that we're in the repayment part of the cycle.
As
Right?
far as the HUD grant, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes, like right now, the HVAC system's the only thing that went out to bid months ago. And so that's ready to go. And then once we get the approval, then we'll determine, okay, what's best to do first. We'll do this conference room and then move the clerks into here. Then we'll go out to bid for the, cabinets and the countertops and things like that.
Where will we hold our meetings?
Commission room. I'm just wondering if this should be the last room to be done, if we're gonna keep moving everybody in here.
Oh, no,
Could we do
either the
their-
first room or last room. I mean, this room, basically, we need paint and we need carpet.
This one's,
Yeah, and
And
audio
the
visual.
commission room, we need paint and carpet,
Yeah.
the clerk's office, pretty much paint and carpet. I mean, it's not,
Encounters.
and counters and things like that, but the other offices are definitely falling apart. The outside is what's gonna cost the most money, because the brick is falling apart, the sidewalks are falling apart.
And the roof is
The
leaking.
roof is leaking, I mean, it's, yeah,
and downstairs, you're going through all of those rooms
Yes.
too. Because that's really much more tired. Looks.
well, the senior center's been almost redone, it needs paint, ceilings and things like that. HVAC system's going in down there. There's an HVAC system going in the community room and Janice's office. The foyer, this area. The land use office is getting a new one, Dave's office is getting a new one, and all the offices here are gonna replace from straight air conditioning to heat pumps. Pretty much the whole building.
Do you have to complete the project or spend everything by a certain date?
Yes,
Yes,
2031.
31, yeah, we have a lot of time.
2030.
Oh, yeah.
A little time.
Which is good, because that, being a reimbursable grant, I can't, just let them loose and let them go, we have to.
Pace
Till
ourselves.
the money comes back, we can't spend any more, unless you guys wanna give me $500,000 to start with.
Do you know how quickly the reimbursement process is? Do you have any idea?
that we do not know.
I know we can apply quarterly. Whether it takes 3 more months after that,
Oops,
oops, somebody get up and move around.
I am.
Hold on.
There we go. That's the first time that's happened. I know,
Yes.
right? Put my exercise in tonight.
That's part of our energy efficiency too. The lights go off when no moving.
We were all sitting so still.
Except we weren't that much. One of the things that we can do, if things work out so that that it's possible to do things more quickly, is we could go back to the town meeting and ask for a larger pool, because it won't impact our working capital for the town.
Unless
because-
it carries over the year, that's the only thing.
But even then it won't, because it's not an appropriation.
Yeah,
So if they can keep up with the work, giving them more to work with would be
Right.
at least save a lot of time.
Because as soon as the money is spent. And and we submit to HUD for reimbursement, that money would be booked as a receivable due back to us. So we would never, we would be out, it's a cash flow
It's a cash
situation,
flow,
that's it.
yeah.
It's not that we would have expenses in the wrong year or anything like that, it would be booked back as a receivable immediately upon submission.
And as soon as we get our first reimbursement, then we can maybe tell how long it's gonna take.
Yes.
I mean, if it takes them 6 months to reimburse us the first 200,000,
That's not good.
we might wanna build up the pot a little bigger too. So it's not a 4-year project. But we'll find out.
and we certainly could handle that when we budget as well. I don't know
Yes.
if it has to be
Yeah,
a
we
town.
can't.
It
Well,
could go in the
actually,
annual
it's
budget
not,
going
it's
forward,
not an
yeah.
appropriation,
Yeah, I understand.
but it's just setting a certain amount of cash aside that will always come back.
Right.
So the question is the time, how fast this stuff can
Mhm.
churn.
And being 100% reimbursable with no matching funds, there's no cost. I mean, it's just a matter of fronting the money till we get the money back. So,
Other questions on whether we should accept the grant? And move forward? Are you, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Alright.
Okay, so that's 4 now. So the second piece that we want to obviously refer to the selectmen and the town meeting is the size of a fund. It's kind of iffy whether we have to do this, but I can be a stickler for
Better-
stuff like this. And I
Better
said,
be upfront.
well, it isn't even not being up. I
Oh,
just think
yeah.
we should have it so we can track it.
Hmm.
Just set aside X amount and we may be wrong about how much money it'll take because it may take longer. And then, but hopefully it would be nice to think that by the Maytown meeting, we would know whether the amount we had was going to work for the next year or whether more or less, we might have some experience with reimbursement.
I hope so, because
Yeah.
12/31, we got a real deadline, so you're gonna be submitting for
Yes.
reimbursement, in theory, this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, so theoretically, we would expect something coming back February or March. And if it doesn't, we go, oh, well, that's the government again.
In our optimism.
But then we have to go to the town meeting and say we need a bigger pool
Mhm.
because we have to wait longer or slow it down. Okay,
And-
all right, so that's the other one that's in front of us. Can I have a motion to recommend to the selectmen and the town meeting a working capital pool, an initial working capital pool for this grant of $200,000?
So
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Somebody say it out loud.
Oh, second, sorry.
Second, okay.
I thought that was clear. Oh, my bad.
All right. Discussion, additional discussion. Do you think that's too much? We had to print it, so. That's what went out there. Everybody understand that part of the process? On board with that?
I do. What are the chances that they don't pay back, they don't honor the grant, something, they cancel it or something like that? Like, I don't know.
I mean, once we have a contract, that's why we don't want to put $1 million in there.
Yeah, that's
200,000
my
at a
concern.
time.
That's my concern about the bigger
Mhm.
pool, like,
It's probably a good idea to get, because this is a HUD grant that has been around for a couple of years, and these are the ones that they're re-looking at, trying in some cases to claw them back. It would be a good idea to get as far into it as we can to make sure that we get as much of the project done as possible if they decide they're not going to do that.
If they don't reimburse, the general fund will be out the money that we spend.
no,
And
I'm
then
That's the obvious, but that's also why we want to move at a reasonable pace
Right.
On-
Not draw it out over 4
on
years.
reimbursement.
Well, we'll make sure we know that the money's coming back before we.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We do have a signed contract with them. I don't know if
Yeah,
that makes
we
any difference, but.
We're good,
I think 200 is a good number.
yeah, all right, those in favor? Aye. Okay. Okay, that's that part of it. The other item on the agenda probably won't take as much discussion because this is everybody's favorite, and almost at the end of the year thing where we have to file with the town clerk and then the Secretary of the State our meeting days for next year. Where is it? There it is. It's opposite this page.
5B, right?
So remember,
yeah,
you did, hold on, Sharon.
Yep.
Are we doing, the second one of B?
We
5A,
just did.
part
No,
2.
this is our code. This is the one for the lot.
Oh, I'm
Right,
sorry.
5A, part 2, or 5A, A2, whatever
Is
it's
that
called.
the,
That's
That's
the
the-
law.
That's the ARPA
Right.
funding
Okay.
request, which is right next
all right, I think,
to the HUD.
yes,
Okay.
okay. Done, all yours.
Okay, we got requests to use some ARPA funds, which we actually had almost $20,000 left over from the fuel pump system over DPW. So we had a lot of requests to do some work at the lodge, because the lodge is 1970s baskets and things like that. So the Lions Club and a couple other people asked to upgrade it a little bit. We wanted to replace the light fixtures that are there, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with them right now. They're like a 20-inch wicker basket looking thing with a big dome hanging from a gold chain. Very nice.
Can be pretty dim in there.
They want, right now, it's very rustic looking, so we're planning to paint the ceiling. Right now, it's the dark brown beams and then the light stained ceiling stripes. We want to paint that, leave the beams dark because there's really not how much you can do. We want to paint the center room, whitewash the walls instead of painting because it's stained right now. We want to put some acoustical panels on the wall because there's a lot of complaints that the sound's not very good because of the sheetrock ceiling and the wood ceiling. We want to put a projector up on the ceiling because we put blinds in there in June.
Mhm.
Because a lot of people, the Lions Club and some weddings and things like that, they project things on the wall. And you couldn't see, they were hanging tarps over the windows. So we put blinds in, but now they asked if we put a projector up on the ceiling instead of moving things around all the time. So a projector on the ceiling. We also want to paint one of the walls, projector paint. They make a special paint that you can project onto instead of having a screen up and down, and moving around. The whole thing, I got it all priced out. I got it installed. You're looking about $13,173. That's for the 14 light fixtures, speakers for this projector to projector, some acoustical panels for the wall to absorb some of the sound from the building. Painting the interior walls and ceiling, and then the labor to install everything. So I would like to take some of the $20,000 left over that we had from the DPW gas situation and use it to upgrade some of the lodge.
This is below the mandatory threshold for the town meeting approval for a capital project. So we can approve this tonight, and if you want to go forward with it. Did we put this one on the town meeting? We didn't.
No.
did we? No.
I know we just increased the cost to rent the lodge to like
Mhm.
500, 575, something to that effect. And it's rented every weekend. So it's not like we're throwing money away. This will make the building look a little better, a little more user friendly. We get a lot of bang for the buck. It's not a lot of money to do what we're doing. To take a 1970 style building and bring it somewhat into the 21st century, not all the way, but somewhat.
I know you said 13,000 and change. I'm just wondering if incidentals happen, should it be up to 15,000 or something, just to make sure that
Well,
something doesn't happen that you need to have.
That's fine.
I mean, I'm just, sometimes it's like.
Well, that makes it better, but-
Something happens and then all of a sudden we find ourselves having to buy knobs or bulbs or whatever, and it wasn't in the original mix.
This doesn't come under the 10% that the town allowed us
Oh, for
for
the,
capital
for capital
projects,
projects?
if there were.
something you wanna, so like Paul said, you wanna just do a not to exceed 15 or 16 or something to that effect?
Don, are you gonna bid this out from one contractor to do all the work? Is that?
No, we got prices for the painting. That was the 8,500 to paint everything. We're purchasing the lights, the speakers, the projector. And we're gonna hire someone to install everything. For 3,000, you know, the electrician to come in and do all the lights. Run a couple plugs for the speakers, run a plug for the projector, and it's.
You need,
I need a
Do you need a
motion
motion?
to approve the use of ARPA, town ARPA funds for the lodge project.
And if you want to assign the
Up to
amount up to.
15,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
up to,
Right.
so moved,
up to 15.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Anybody? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
More work for me.
then. What, more work for you? No, you asked for it.
That's okay, I don't mind.
Okay, so now, going back to 7B, sorry. We have our proposed schedule of meetings for the second Tuesday of each month, and none of them, for a change, is on a holiday. That's
Check every calendar.
I'm telling you, when I looked at, when I was reviewing this, I didn't like double check the dates or anything. I assumed that they were right.
Well, because I did the Board of Selectmen for last week and I did these, so I knew it was one right after the other. so.
But you get to have lots of them bumped, right? Oh, no,
Oh,
you're
no, not
Tuesdays.
anymore. When
yeah,
I first
when it was
started, we did
Mondays.
because of holidays, and I was like, well, why are we doing it on a
Right.
Monday? If we keep getting bumped with all these holidays.
Right.
We do it on a Tuesday, then we don't have
Okay.
to keep bumping. So,
Okay,
and it was consistent on Tuesday.
motion.
I-
A
Okay, I'll tell
question?
you, I have a discussion point.
Okay.
I was gonna propose
Alright.
something. but-
All right, so we're gonna move it so we can discuss it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
I was gonna propose it an earlier start time.
An earlier start time,
Yeah,
okay, like,
even 6:30. I don't know what folks think about that. I don't know.
hmm. I am retired, so it's not an issue for me.
I won't be here, so.
I
You say no.
know, well,
I
I'm just
don't get-
that I made the decision.
And
I
right, that I-
don't get home until 6:30.
I know,
Yeah, and I'm thinking Lars is a farmer, he needs.
he needs to.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with 7. It's- Yeah,
Okay,
I'd be all right. 6:30 if we did.
if we did. Yeah. Martha, in this case, I'm gonna ask you for input, since
6:30 would work for me.
1 and 2. Okay, let's see, can we change this?
This is what we're voting on. We change it now and then
No.
I just,
No,
Oh,
what I'm
afterwards.
thinking, what
Oh,
I'm thinking,
afterward?
it changed it afterwards, what I'm thinking about doing is suggesting that we forward this, that we approve this and send it, but when we have the
I think
full,
we need Lars
the
to
full
do this.
committee.
Yeah,
Back, when we have Kathy and Lars.
so this also has to be submitted to the town clerk by a certain date.
I
too,
know,
so,
that's
yeah.
why I'm asking if the time can be changed afterwards.
You better make sure they're not special meetings.
That none of
Yeah,
them are
but-
special meetings, these
No,
are,
no. In
No.
other words, if you change it to 7, it might become a special meeting.
this is 7.
No, if you go to 6:30, and then a month from now you say we're going to 7, they might all be
Then
special meetings.
Special meeting.
Yes.
I'm not sure, I'm just throwing it out there, I'm not sure.
I mean, if you,
There's gotta be a way to change things, I would think, but I'm not, you know.
I don't know.
when does it need to be filed?
No,
No,
Like, unless we text Kathy and Lars right now and find out if
Well, the thing is, I know Kathy's under the weather and Lars had some kind of a conflict, so I don't think texting him.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know when I tried. I
Can you
forgot to
text
do-
Will and ask Will?
That, I think that's the safer route to go. Text Will and ask him if we can
Yeah, that's what I'm
approve the
doing right now.
dates
Mhm,
and the time at a later date.
mhm.
That's what I'm doing right now.
Okay, then can we table this to later in the meeting? Well, until we get a response back from Will? Is everybody good with that?
I'm doing that.
All right, so,
Good with the-
yeah, so I promised we'd be able to leave at 8 if you wanted to, so.
Then we should vote on this now, if we need a vote, you know.
Oh,
because
yes.
we won't be able to vote.
And chain it down. For 5 more minutes until we hear from Will.
He's got his phone near him.
He's what?
I said, hopefully he has his phone near him and will get my text.
You guys like the new windows? Very nice, huh?
You know, the interesting thing is that they look a lot like the other ones, except of course that they're not all
They're not
sagging.
The
saggy.
second time they've been redone. since
Yes.
In
before.
10 years.
Yeah. Yeah,
But these are guaranteed for, well, whatever, they're not gonna,
And when the wind.
These were
blows
very-
down-
So it's first
well,
one.
these have,
These are-
have solid
Like,
frames.
these are
and all
solid
that,
frames.
right?
And I went through the painting of this too, so.
Yeah, I remember, yes, because Gary did this. Mhm.
unfortunately, we're putting blinds on the windows, but we're gonna keep them way up
Again?
high.
But blinds are very good when you're in here at 6:30 for when the sun doesn't go down till 8:30.
Well, it's also in the town clerk's office because the sun in the afternoon glares right on their
Yes,
computers, so it's, yeah,
of course.
so that happens in the
All right.
morning on that side.
Yes, let's look at the minutes, going back to our original agenda, the minutes of the October meeting. And we do not have a quorum of the people who were present at that meeting, so we can't act. Oh, wait a minute. No, nobody was online, so we can't act on it. So we'll have to table it until next month. All right. Numbers, finance, is any of your information, does it require action? Because I'm thinking we could move forward and we could move forward to the informational items, but the
No, there are-
especially the recycle.
The numbers, there aren't any transfers, the numbers. Unless there's a question, I do not have to narrate on them,
Okay,
but we do need to, talk about the budget timeline and the target budget amount.
okay,
I will be sending department heads the budget template by the end of this month, with a target due back to finance for Paula and I to review all of them before Christmas. We may be meeting with the department heads this year as ourselves before, the presentation here. The target budget amount, that's, what are we looking for? Are we looking for a flat budget? Are we looking for a not to exceed?
Mhm.
What's the pulse of this board? So that we have some direction to give the department heads when they do their budgets for next year.
How are you looking on revenue? Like, okay, comparative to like last year do we have any reason to think that revenues will be flat, go up or go down? I mean,
Well, most of our revenue is the
Is
tax
tax,
revenue,
yeah.
which, I mean, we won't know what that dollar amount is until after we see the reval.
Yeah.
That we can calculate a mill rate.
And we have
But
to
as far as departmental revenue, the only area where we may see a decline could be in building permits if a recession hits. I mean, because, interest rates are high, so people aren't purchasing new homes. That's the other, we don't know what the turnover is. We guess at conveyance tax revenue every year as well.
mean,
But
we have
I don't-
Some houses going up right now, but you know, then.
But I don't necessarily see a large decrease in what we have this year for next year.
What's going to hit us is that Amity and BCS both approved their teachers' contracts, and that's going to be.
So
Did Amity
that's,
approve it last
Did
night?
Amity approve it?
Well, okay, let me
It was,
roll that back. I know
it was
BCS
going to them last night, but
I haven't.
I'm not
haven't
sure
heard
it was
that.
going to
Yeah.
them.
but BCS contract was approved.
Mhm.
So we are expecting a
And yeah, but
A
it's
s-
approved, yeah.
large bump in expenses for the Board of Eds, both in both education lines because of the new teacher contract.
The piece that concerns me more than the percentages is that part of the reason both of them have the increases that they haven't publicized, and well, I don't think Amity's is done, is that part of it was to retain employees, but not, the other piece of it was so that they could attract more, because both of them are understaffed. So it isn't just a percentage, it's the percentage plus the bringing their staff up to
What's head count?
their head
Mhm.
count. It's just, so we really don't know where they're going, but they're
I
pretty
mean,
good
the
numbers.
enrollment has continued to grow. In the last 2 years, they've grown by 60 students.
Well, on January 9th, everyone, Amity wants to present their budget to us. Now, I'm on the finance committee, we had a meeting last night, they haven't started. So I don't know what's going on. Except that I'm going to a meeting in 2 weeks, but anyway. So last year, we had a meeting, we met with all the department heads at the end of December, so you're saying that's not gonna happen?
Well, no, I know, what I'm saying is, the board will still have the opportunity to meet with all the department heads. The question becomes, when do we want that to happen? And would you like Paula and I to meet with them first to vet out a
Yes.
reasonable budget before it comes to you?
So we try to streamline it a little more than.
I think my personal guidance would be, we can't grow taxis, so we have to keep a budget from last year, like. You can't see the taxes go up in
You mean the mill rate?
the mill rate.
Oh, the mill rate won't go up
No,
No, the
because,
mill rate was probably going to come down because of
of the
rebound.
rebound,
Right, okay,
and the rebound percentages are
yeah,
kind of
and
sticker
it's,
shock a little bit.
and it redistributes based on the reval. It's not like everybody is going to be proportionally the same, so. So we don't know until we get that. But we should have that at the end of October, they release it?
I was looking at something we had
Is it
put down,
November?
it was supposed to be like the end of October, mid-November, so we're at mid-November, but
Mhm.
I haven't heard anything, so unless Betsy's got the figures, I don't know.
Um,
She was in yesterday, but didn't mention anything.
You
so.
know, the Wall Street Journal is sometimes my friend. It gives me interesting information. The price of gas has gone down, and
Yes,
the
it
price of
has.
gas is leading the drop in the inflation rate. Because interest rates certainly are not. And I thought that that was kind of interesting. Part of the question is, well, I guess we need to know, one thing we really need to know is what's the CPI change from, we need a time period to a time period. I would guess July 1 to July 1, and then July 1 to December 31. Because we want year-old numbers are not helpful right now, because we need something closer moving forward, which will be a lower number. So I think I agree with Katie that limiting it as much as possible. Knowing that we're in the faced with significant increases in salaries coming from both school systems. If we were to keep the budget itself flat, then who gets hurt?
Right, do we spread the pain evenly kind of thing, or? is there
And do
areas
we
to
try to
focus
take it
on?
out of operating, or do we take it out of salaries? We don't wanna. That's not a fair thing to do, I don't think. So we need to think about it. We need to think about it. Can we give you some thinking next month?
Yeah.
If we actually think about it, everybody. The numbers from both of the schools, well,
Well,
they're not
well,
public, but yeah.
So the direction I will give them with the template will be a flat budget. You know, you have to start at zero and justify all increases.
I think it would be appropriate to ask for budgets without salaries,
Okay.
because that's something that's overall.
Okay.
Thing,
Because minimum wage goes up again in January.
Yes, it does.
Ridiculous.
yeah,
Been
and
like every
that,
6 months.
and those have to be looked at separately.
Correct.
You're right.
But I think it is changing though to just a January increase going forward and not
1569,
this, 1569 in January, but it went up in June
right?
Yeah,
and now again in January, but I think it's now on a January cycle.
Oh, permanently?
I don't even know how this one snuck in.
I
Yeah,
think,
absolutely.
I think that's the way it is supposed to be going. I just hope it doesn't hit again in June, because that's really going to.
That's
Yeah.
late for anybody to.
I mean, because
Yeah.
that's real, because
Well,
this
Park
one
and Rec.
hitting in January, we didn't budget for.
yeah.
It was not budgeted for.
Okay.
All right.
I don't think it's inappropriate to overall be looking at the operating day-to-day operations, and I'm not thinking about capital projects. Portion of the budget at zero, and the reason that I say that is because we have run surpluses that we were not expecting the last 2 years, 3 years. So that means that A, there's cushion, and B, we're still budgeting higher than we need to. Well, we're getting better information now, but our better information is telling us that some of that stuff is too high. And I would suggest asking, do it on a departmental level. And then we'll work back and look at, so use the same number you had for this year for your departmental total. Not including salaries and not including, not including any capital projects. Call out the capital projects, ask for them. And we had a few things last year with, after things got going, people say, well, hey, how come my office isn't being done? It's like, you didn't ask. Well, that's how you get on the list, right?
I just heard from Will, just so you know, by the end of December, but if you want to table this until next month, we can do that for the schedule, for the meeting schedule.
Okay, but he didn't know whether we could change the time afterwards.
I didn't ask them that, I just.
Oh, okay, because that was, okay. All
I
right,
just
shall
asked
we
them what they
table it
said.
until
Table it
next
to
month?
December.
Table it, yeah, and then we'll find out.
Okay,
Figure out.
table it to
Okay.
December, okay.
Because I think we really need Lars's input there.
Okay.
I don't know. Anybody disagree?
Agree.
Agree, table.
No, yeah, that part, but, no. The budget.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I think they should not be looking at what they budgeted for last year, but they should be looking at their actuals.
They need to look at their actuals from 22
22, yeah,
and their actual estimated spend for 23
agreed.
to create the 24.
So
And
what's-
don't just say, I'm gonna spend all of it. Take the time to figure out what are you going to spend.
just because they budgeted for it doesn't mean it's a good number. So I don't. I don't
And
think we
there
should
are
look at
some department heads that are, well, it's budgeted, therefore I have to spend it all.
Otherwise I
And
lose
we're
it.
not even halfway through the
Yeah.
year. How much I'll spend already,
We could
you know what I mean, so.
take it away. Yeah, I mean. Okay,
Okay.
all right. I just want to make. Our time that we have to spend going through it more profitable and less time consuming.
Yes,
Well,
well,
That's
that's why,
why.
that's why you. Alright. Then, um. Okay,
Alright, what's next?
all right, the first thing under the informational items is the municipal solid waste, and that's here for discussion, whatever it is, actually it's information, but is the cost analysis. And you received in part of the packet via that was emailed to you. You got a copy of Bruce Loomis's letter. And then today I.
no,
received-
that was something different.
That was,
No, the letter from.
oh, that was
No,
about the
so-
solar thing, right,
No,
sorry,
no, so
I
it's not
apologize.
there, no.
I apologize. This letter today is about, that you got is about municipal solid waste, and Bruce asked if he could speak for a short period of.
That's a new one.
So if you can keep it under 10 minutes, I'd really appreciate it.
Under five.
Oh, that's Eric.
Bruce.
I have right here.
Oh,
Okay, I
yours,
saw Eric.
Under
yeah.
five.
it's yours for under 5 minutes.
Oh, you ready to talk about the recycling?
Well, what the best thing that, the thing is, we weren't planning to talk about it. We were
Okay.
planning to collect information.
Okay,
So,
I thought I will try to keep it brief and not too broad, because I will be submitting a written thing, but I just want to bring a couple of points up. I'd like to start with a question for Leslie and Don. On the tipping fee going forward, starting with 2024, what did you use for your basis for making your estimate?
Right. I believe I used my estimate for next fiscal year. I used approximately a 15% increase off of what we are paying this year. Because I did not have access at the time to the Wheelabrator contract to know when it ran through.
Okay,
So that's what I had used,
Okay.
and
okay.
I do know that the consortium pricing is significantly less than what everyone else tells you that MSW costs to get rid of.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Bethany is a member of Greater Bridgeport Solid Waste Interlocal, of which I was a representative up until past December for quite a long number of years. As a member of that, our group was guaranteed the lowest price that Wind Waste, or former Wheelabrator, gave to any municipality. That contract expires June 30th and is up for renewal effective July 1st. Currently, the contract is under renegotiation by a team from the group that actually had worked on the previous contract and are very active and familiar with the whole thing. And my last information was that the negotiations were not going too satisfactorily, and a couple of municipalities municipalities were actually talking about the possibility of stopping using the incinerator and starting shipping things out of town. So from a dollars and cents point of view, just for your planning, until we actually have better contract information, I would suggest adding at least another 10 to 15% to this estimate. My last update that I heard was it could be a 30% increase, which is pretty substantial over the previous amounts. So I think we need to, as I say, for planning purposes, so you don't underestimate, up the amount, a fair amount. And then when we get some good contract information, you can bring it down and say, oh, we're lucky we didn't bite the bullet we had to bite. Now, this number is dependent on two things. Of course, you have the tipping fee, which we don't currently know. And I'm sure you multiplied basically times a rough figure of the tonnage that we've been doing. Which brings up the point of what can we as a town control? What's within our ability to control? So I'm looking at going forward, not just for next year or the year after, but the long term for ourselves, for our children, our grandchildren, whoever's gonna live here in Bethany. And we need to start thinking differently than what we've been doing in the past. If we keep doing what we've been doing, given the recycling and solid waste markets, we're just gonna see this numbers go up and up and up and up and take up more of our tax money. So we have to think very differently. The only way I see is really feasible to control the tonnage of our municipal waste is the SMART program or pay as you throw. This does two things. It makes people think because every bag they fill, they're paying extra for when they put it out at the curb. So hopefully they're gonna put fewer bags out and therefore bring more to our recycling center. And it's also gonna make it into a self-funding program so that regardless of what we're paying, the funds will be coming in to cover it if we price it correctly, and it won't actually affect our tax rate at all. The people using the service, like electricity or plowing your driveway from snow or fuel oil in your home, the person using the service is paying the bill. People who don't use the service or use less of the service will pay less. So that will help reduce the tax impact of the solid waste thing. And it's going to be a change in thinking for Bethany. It's going to be an educational process for our residents. But if we want to control costs, we have to do something. And that leads to the recycling aspect of it. And as I said, this hopefully will increase the volume of recycling, which will help toward our percentages. But I know there's been some talk about starting curbside recycling because we're afraid the state's going to come down on us. Back in 2015, 2016, we then had an active SWARC or Solid Waste and Recycling Committee, and we did an in-depth analysis and presentation to the town recommending curbside recycling. And at an informational meeting, there was a non-binding vote in which the town fully supported it. But the Board of Finance at that time didn't feel the costs were appropriate, even though the dynamics of recycling were different at that time. They thought it was too expensive. Well, the dynamics have totally changed. Recycling has gone way up. We no longer, back when that was recommended, we were getting rebates. In the long term, it turns out what the Board of Finance did was the right thing, even though at that time it seemed like the wrong thing, because right after that, China closed the markets and everything turned upside down and just everything skyrocketed. So the estimates in here are about almost $200,000 to do curbside recycling. That's pickup and disposal based on an estimate of tonnage. $99.50 per ton to dispose of it without transportation. That's plus the transportation. I don't know what the current figures are. I'm sure they've gone up a little bit, but the last year that I did a full set of figures, which was fiscal year 21, it was costing us $47.02 per ton to dispose of our items that would be included in the curbside pickup, and that included transportation away from the recycle center. That was disposal and transportation was $47 a ton, not $99.50 plus a route to pick the stuff up. If we can not do that, push people, and we would really just restart the SWARC or Solid Waste Committee for educational purposes, if nothing else, but they can serve a lot of other purposes. Educate our residents on doing it, get our numbers up. There's no guarantee we will ever get forced to do recycling curbside. If our numbers change, they can't force us if we change them properly. They're behind in posting their numbers, so we don't really know what they have for us at the moment. When we did our study in 2015 and 16, we made it clear that we were not in compliance then. And even knowing that, the Board of Finance still rejected it. So I don't think we should run scared today and say, well, we're not in compliance, let's do it. I think we need to put it off, and if someday the state comes and forces us to do it, well, then we're stuck with it. In the meantime, we need to try to minimize our costs and maximize our recycling percentage to try to avoid the eventuality of curbside recycling. It's all about numbers and all about thinking differently than what we have done in the past. What we've done in the past is an old model. It was set up many, many years ago when all the dynamics of everything were different. And it frankly isn't working in today's market. And we need to come up with a different model. And I think the pay-as-you-throw curbside trash pickup and continue doing what we're doing at the recycle center appears to be, to me, the best model.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
In your recommendation with the pay-as-you-throw model, would that be picked up at the proposed pickup pay-as-you-throw?
We would still do curbside pickup, just like we do today.
But what about?
But
the
instead of
recycling?
instead of putting your trash bag out, you would have a special trash
I
bag that
understand.
you would
Okay.
purchase. So locally, people would then have to take their trash to the recycle center as we do now.
Like the trash.
No, the recycled.
Yeah, but people today you see mounds of cardboard out.
Mhm.
Well, people could continue to do that if they want to cut it up, stuff it in the bag and pay to get rid of it, or they can throw it in the back of their car and drive over here and not have to pay anything to put it in our recycle center, which then would raise
I
our,
understand completely.
raise our
I
fee.
just wanted to
Yeah,
understand. what you were
No,
proposing.
I am saying do not start curbside recycling
Right.
pickup. Once you start it, you're never gonna get rid of it. And $200,000 a year now and increasing over the years, it's just gonna be a burden on all our taxpayers forever. So we need to maximize our options and minimize our costs. And I'm saying we should be able to get rid of the cost of curbside trash pickup completely by shifting the burden to the people that are using it. It would distribute the load differently. Instead of being based on the value of your house, it's based on how much trash you throw away. Because you could have a person now with an expensive house and they hardly put any trash out, and they're paying way, way more than somebody with an inexpensive house who puts a ton of trash out, and it's not fair.
Well, he brings his trash to work.
Well, can
Yeah,
I make?
that's
Because he owns the company. I'm
Can I
not,
do
it would be
that?
silly.
If that's even better than Bethany doesn't pay anything.
Can I make a quick point on that, Bruce?
Okay.
Okay, I'll make a quick point on that. 20 years ago was my wife, myself, my wife, my mother-in-law, and 3 kids. We had tremendous amount of trash we put out, family of 6.
Mhm.
The neighbors, 2 people, 1 or 2 little bags.
Mhm.
Now my kids are gone, my mother-in-law's gone. We put out 1 or 2 little bags. The neighbors had 3 or 4 kids. They put out a lot of trash. So you're almost punishing larger families. When 25 years ago, you might have put out 10 bags of trash, and it's all simple, like with kids in school. Sometimes you have kids, you pay, and the people don't pay because they don't have kids anymore.
If you
It just
have,
seems like it seems like you're punishing the younger families with more kids, making them pay
you are-
more
you-
because 25 years ago, you were a younger family with kids.
you're
And
trying
people
to,
paid for you.
you're trying to incentivize people. And again, Solid Waste and Recycling Committee can help with education to shop smart and dispose smart. The fact that they have a lot of trash now is, are they recyclers, or is a lot of their trash stuff that could go to the recycle center and not have to pay for it? And when they buy, they have to look at what they're buying, they have to look at what they're throwing out. As an education, I don't know how many of you may or may not do this. Every time I go to the recycle center, I walk over and I stand and study the bulky waste dumpster, and I stand and study the metal dumpster. And all the stuff that's in there, it could be reused, donated to a charity, recycled in a different manner, or just plain shouldn't even be in there at all. I was up there today and somebody threw a bunch of potted mums in there. The plants are organic and could be thrown in the woods or otherwise recycled. The pots are plastic, and a lot of these garden centers like to have those back because they have to pay for them, or they can be rinsed out and they have recycled numbers on the bottom and they can go in with the plastic. That's just a sort of, there was a big, huge shipping box, corrugated cardboard, that still had the styrofoam packing in it. Styrofoam packing should have been taken out, and that should have been in the dumpster. The cardboard should have been down 3 dumpsters in a different dumpster. If you go up there every time you're up there and stand and study those dumpsters, you're gonna get an education. There's a lot of stuff in wrong dumpsters, stuff that shouldn't be in the dumpsters at all, stuff that could be donated, stuff that could be reused. Because people think it's free, they're lazy about it. And I'm not gonna talk about the bulky waste tonight, but I'll submit in writing when I do my written thing, my opinion on that, but I think we have to stop having free bulky waste to help cut down on that. But penalizing people, hey, if you have a large family, you have to pay for it. It's a decision you make. You don't have to have a large family. You have a choice. You can not have any kids. You can have 1 kid, you can have 2 kids, or you can have 10 kids.
Okay.
That's your
Okay,
choice.
3 minutes.
All right, we have,
Anyway,
we have,
so I think you have to make tough choices, and somebody has to start making them, or this thing's gonna snowball. And the bigger this gets, the less you're gonna have available for other projects or other items where people want things paid for out of our tax money.
All right, I think you've made some really good points. I'd really like to see it all in writing so that
Yep.
we can put it together with other information that we have. We need to. The suggestion of recreating the solid waste committee, I think is not, I don't know, we'll have to think about how it might fit in with which way. I don't know, we have to talk about, do we really want to not be in compliance? We need to talk about, do we want to force a cultural one culture?
When do we need to make a decision on this?
but the current contract for trash pickup expires June 30th.
I think both contracts expire June 30th.
Yeah, so we have basically 2 months because it's got to be in the budget.
Yes.
Yeah, it needs to be in the budget, and we will have to do an RFP to determine what we, and
Oh,
But
I saw
before-
numbers here. I wasn't sure if that was the RFP numbers or just estimates or.
Just
some of them are at some numbers are estimates. No, the curbside pickup, that's just an estimate.
Now, from my point.
That's an estimate on what I mean, I don't know what it's going to be. But I know it's going to be more than what we paid this year.
Yeah.
And the last contract called for a 2 or 3% increase per year. Well, that's not a 2% increase that I put in it for next year,
Right.
you know, because,
Okay.
but. No, I mean, and. The options. It's not my
we
town.
have to have,
But we need to everyone needs to read through the whole thing
Yes.
and figure out what makes the most sense
yes.
for this town,
Thank you.
including all options. So that Don can structure the RFP properly
I
to
think
go
it's-
out to bid for
I
it.
think it's unfortunate that you waited this long to get to this point, because if the town's gonna make a change, which I recommend to something like the pay as you throw, it may affect the way the contractor wants to pick up the trash, which then could affect what he wants to charge us to do it.
Okay,
Because somehow he's got, right now, they just come along and empty bins or whatever happens to be there, no checking for what kind of bag it's in or anything like that. As in all fairness to the contractor, we should have been a lot further
We-
along in the
okay,
process.
something to be very clear about, because after reading Eric's letter, it's clear that at least he did not understand, the town was never party and is not party to the
Recycling pickup.
to the current recycling pickup. The reason that we don't know anything and no statistics are available is because we are not a party to it. We didn't negotiate those rates. We know nothing. They
That
contacted
was privately
residents.
proposed by RWS,
RWS contacted every house in town.
and they signed up
That's
for it
fine,
on their
but we
own.
had to give him, whose letter is that?
Eric.
Eric
Eric.
Creedon's? Okay, we had to give him permission to do that,
No,
correct?
No.
It's a
We
private
did,
concern. He mailed everybody in
He
town.
sent a postcard to
So he
every
doesn't
house.
have to ask permission to do it?
No, of course
No,
not. It's a
it's-
private company. Why would he ask permission?
I
He
don't-
sent a postcard to each household offering the service, and he said that he wanted at least 100 residents
Mhm.
In order to make it
I
feasible for
figured
him
the town
to
had
do
to
it.
give him permission to solicit the,
No, it's just
the-
like anybody sending out for doing lawn mowing
Okay.
or tree services or whatever, they get flyers in the mail all the time, and that's what they did. They were offering a service to the town. Town had
And
nothing to
Okay.
do with it.
so that, and that kind of changes our view of this, because right now people are paying for their recycling.
that's not a bad thing, because it gives. If he's gonna continue to do that, and we're gonna change our other, that gives the people who have to now pay for trash. As trash for things that they could recycle, it gives them another option to get rid of those items. So I mean, that's not a bad thing. It would be
We'll-
nice to have figures, but
We'll have to
but it's not a bad thing.
do consideration to decide.
Uh,
But
I
Thank you.
I thought it was a good thing when he did. I just think it's unfortunate that we don't get figures back from him as to what being picked up,
You
but.
know, if we ask him, he might share them with us.
Yeah,
He
but-
might not.
But the service itself, I don't think is a bad thing and wouldn't be going forward to continue it. Especially helps us keep from having to offer curbside at town expense.
And then there are laws. But, okay, all right, thank you. We have,
Okay.
we need to move on our
Okay,
agenda.
Thank you for the courtesy of letting me sit here and use my mic.
Okay.
99.50. Take it and run. I'll tell you right now.
Think so?
That's
Okay,
absolutely.
all right.
I'm paying $20 more,
Are you really?
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
and that's the best deal I can get. So that's what I say. That's an incredible price.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna change the pickup price
Mhm.
because gasoline and the operation of their trucks
Mhm.
can't do it.
Oh, it's gonna keep
I mean,
going up.
that's
Gas is-
what I do for a living.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all I do is try to negotiate prices down because
Oh.
trash is our biggest expense.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
And if their costs are going up, they're just gonna.
oh, and they're asking, yeah,
Yeah,
and
they're gonna
I'm gonna
roll
tell you right
over.
now, any tonnage he gives you is what he's picking up, he's not gonna know.
Yeah.
There's no possible way.
No, it's totally gas.
Okay,
No,
wait a minute,
so-
before you walk out of the room, is there any, because we're gonna have to adjourn the meeting. Is there anything critical that you can think of?
No.
Because I think we agreed. Okay,
I think.
All right, thank you.
All right, I just wanted to thank
Thank you.
John too for,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, it
Yeah.
was because of him and his father actually that I started in doing all this stuff. They talked me into running and then doing the Board of Finance.
suck you in.
You know,
didn't
they did it, so I just wanted to thank John for his time and service and you know, everything else too, so. All right. Sorry, I gotta go.
And, yeah,
John
don't
G.
trip.
John G, just let me know, I emailed you, anyone who owes you, annual.
Yeah, I gotta go
Okay.
through and
Yeah.
I gotta
Let
go
me know,
do some sorting and stuff like that, probably not till the weekend.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. Thank
See
you.
you, John.
I'll send out a reminder. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so we've lost our quorum, so could I have a motion to adjourn? Oh, I can't.
Well, you have a quorum.
John, come back.
Due to the loss of quorum, this meeting is adjourned.
There you go.
You're the last one, which is third, every third. Okay, I will turn off the recording, hold on.
See everybody that's on, everybody out there?
It's just Liz.
Just Liz.